Hey, my friends, it's Katie, and I am coming to you from the car tonight. Sorry I didn't get in here earlier for Nehemiah Day 2. It's been a busy day. Tuesdays are my busy days with coaching and clients and things, and then we had to run some errands tonight for the event, picking up some things for the stage set and hubbies in the store, and so I thought this was the perfect time to jump in here and say hello and share our Nehemiah Day 2 with you. So yesterday, if you hopped in, we were talking about Nehemiah and the opening of him longing for the homeland, hearing the news from the homeland that the temple has been rebuilt, but the city lies in ruins and his people are still shamed in front of their neighbors because of it. And for whatever reason, he's got this passion for that. He's got this burden for it that actually sets him to pouring out his heart before the Lord and crying out for God to do a work on these people. And his job is actually at the palace of Artaxerxes. He stands before the king every day. He's been literally trained to be the one who's willing to give his life for the king by being the wine tester, the wine bearer, the cup bearer to the king, basically testing all the food that the king is to eat before he eats it so that he would be poisoned and die first if that was a plan of any of the enemies, right? And so as a cupbearer, it was pretty much against cultural law for you to not be happy in the presence of the king. You're always supposed to be pleasant. You're always supposed to be upbeat. You're always supposed to be, someone joyful to be around. Obviously, who doesn't want to be around people like that, right? But that was actually part of the job, was that you were not supposed to appear before the king anything less than happy. Well, this day, he shows up unhappy at his job with bearing the cup to the king. And in Nehemiah chapter 2, it talks about how he comes in and he's sad. His countenance was sad. And the king asks him about it, right? So imagine if this guy is tasting all of your food, they probably had some kind of relationship, some kind of a friendship. And he's like, what's the deal? What are you sad about today? I've never seen you like this. And Nehemiah says a quick prayer to God for favor, and then he states what he wants to do. Listen to this. After saying the quick prayer, he basically says, if I have found favor in your sight, send me back to Judah where my ancestors are buried so that I can rebuild it. How can I be happy when the city of my ancestors lies in ruins? I'm paraphrasing. You can read it in Nehemiah chapter 2. But basically he's saying, this is what I want to do. If I found favor in your sight, send me back there, right? And the thing is, the lesson for us in this little tidbit, this little snippet of the story, is that this was a man who was not qualified for the job that he was setting out to do. He had no right to ask for this of the king, and he doesn't necessarily ask. He's asking for blessing. He's not asking for permission. If you read what it says, if you read how he says it in the scriptures, it doesn't come across as if he is begging the king for this opportunity, as if he is asking permission. He basically says, I can't be happy unless I go do this. So grant me favor to do it. He's saying, give me your blessing to go and do what I know I have to do. And it just made me think how many of us in our lives and in our businesses are sitting around waiting for somebody's permission. We're waiting or begging for someone's permission to do the thing we know God has called us to do, when what we need to do is just ask for blessing, right? He asked for favor of God, which we talked about yesterday. If you missed that, go back and watch that video. He asked for the favor of God, but today, when he has an opportunity with the king, the one he knows that can make a difference in this getting done, and remember, he's not qualified. He has no reason to think that he could go back and do this thing at all on his own. And yet he knows this is the first step, and he asks for blessing from the king. And then he takes it a step further, and he says, and if you would give me provision, if you would give me the materials that I would need, that would be amazing. Right? So basically, king, I'm going to go back to my people. I'm going to rebuild these walls because I can't let this lie in ruin any longer. It's been 150 years and nobody's doing anything about this. I've got to go do something. And so give me your blessing. Let me go. And the king says, the king is not even taken aback by this. It's such an interesting story. He's not even taken aback. He just basically says, all right, how long is it going to take you? Like, what's your timeline for this? And Nehemiah gives him a time. And then Nehemiah goes a step further and said, and would you give me a letter to the people who are in charge of your forest so that they will give us timbers for the building, right? He asked him boldly for what he needs, what he knows he needs at this point to get the job done. And the king gives it. That little prayer for favor meant that God moved the heart of King Artaxerxes, not only to give him blessing in going, not only to give him the provision that he asked for, but he went above and beyond that. He even gave him his own soldiers to protect him on the journey, to protect him as he went to do this work. Like, he went above and beyond. And Proverbs 21:1 talks about the king's heart being in the hands of the Lord, and he moves it whithersoever he wants to. When we think of kings today, we think of people in authority. We think of people who you are thinking of right now that could bless your business or could be a detriment to your business. A certain permission you need, a certain, maybe you're getting your LLC paperwork. Maybe it's with taxes. Maybe it's with a provider or a shipper. Maybe it's with a certain person who can help you in your business. We're all waiting for those people to come up instead of saying, this is what I need. Give me your blessing, right? So ask God for favor, because he moves the hearts of those people who are interacting with your business. And he's also already working to provide the provision and the protection that you need to get the job done that he's called you to do. Romans 8:31 and 32, Paul tells us that if God is for us, who can be against us? He who did not spare his own son, but gave him up for all of us, how will he not also, along with him, graciously give us all things? Another verse in the New Testament talks about how we have all things that we need for life and godliness, and that includes our business. Your business is part of your life, and you can be godly in your business. God's given you all things in advance for what you need. What you need to do is recognize God's favor and be bold in your asking, because the provision and the protection and the blessing is already on the way. Stop asking for permission to do what God has called you to do, and start asking for those in your life who can have a part to bless it instead. What would it look like if you went to those who are important to you and said, God is calling me to do this. God is asking me to take this step in my business. God is pushing me to make this move, to make this change or this pivot, to reach out and do this thing. I don't need your permission. I need your blessing. Are you with me or are you not? Right? Where's the boldness? The boldness comes from knowing your God. The boldness comes from that time that he spat on his face before God in chapter 1, crying out to the Lord, asking for forgiveness for his people, asking for God to move on behalf of his people. That's where the boldness came from. And so if you did your homework for day number 1, if you're crying out to God for your people, the next thing to do is to step into that next step with confidence, to ask God for the favor, and then to make those requests boldly. We do not need people's permission to do what God has called us to do. He's not called them because that's not their job. He's called you. You do not need permission for what he's called you to do in your business. It's okay to ask for blessing, because God's got that provision and that protection already on its way. People already prepared to help you and give their blessing to what you're doing. What you need is God's favor and the boldness to declare what it is that he's asking you to take that next step with. I hope that's encouraging to you. I'd love to hear your comments. If you want to leave them for me down below, leave them for each other. Share what God is teaching you. This is ramping us up for building our business at Handprint Legacy Live. We cannot do this without God. We cannot do it without his calling. We cannot do it without his foundation. We cannot do it without his principles to guide our business. And so I'm really looking forward to spending that time with you, looking forward to showing you the fun things that we're picking up today to wrap up the stage and things that we're putting together. And maybe I'll give you a preview of that in the next couple of days. But just really excited, and know that we're praying for each of you as God prepares your hearts for this event. So thank you. Thank you for watching. And remember, you can still invite your friends, handprintlegacylive.com. We still got virtual tickets available for the weekend. And we're just so excited about what God's going to do in growing your business at this event. So here's hubby back in the van. We are on to the next stop. And we'll hope you have a great evening. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.